send articles like this contradictory to the views of since then that organization is functioning illegally. The court, we cannot even, the HR officer pulled the offer letter from the candidate and 4-5 rounds of interviews and tests and session, he would be in a limbo. Imagine. Hello everyone, welcome back to another topic discussions. So today's topic is intuition in workplace. Before I proceed, I must wish all of you a very happy new year 2026. Okay, so let's get back to the topic, and as I mentioned, the topic is intuitions at workplace. The primary reason why I'm doing this topic is because I had done a topic with regard to interview failure, which I personally had some time ago, and in that I had specified the intuition. One question was very relevant to intuition and how my views on intuition was contradictory to the views of my interviewee and how it did not go well. So, and when I put forth that particular video module, many people approached me or sent messages telling me that intuition is necessary at workplace. They also sent articles like this, which they came across in LinkedIn and various other platforms, telling me that intuition is very much necessary in workplace, irrespective of if it is HR or finance, any medium, any department that you're working for, intuition is a necessary aspect. But I agree to disagree. And here is the reason why. Intuition, as I mentioned, intuition is a necessary phenomena or a necessary tool in your personal life. Yes, definitely. But when you're bringing into your workplace, it has got a lot of implications which are not in line with the professional approach that we expect an HR department to function. And let me give you an example here. An organization is not an individual entity or a personal entity. An organization is licensed under a country. Okay, any organization which is functioning in any country and has transactions, financial transactions, need to be licensed under that, whatever the country's rules and regulations are, need to be licensed by that country. And if it is not licensed, then that organization is functioning illegally. So all the organizations around the world which are functioning legally need to have a trade license and need to be licensed by the country wherever it is located. Okay, so when an organization is licensed under the country, it has to follow the rules and regulations of the country. When an organization comes under the rules and regulations, automatically need to abide by the laws and regulations of any country wherever the organization is situated. Am I right? Okay, so when the organization has to abide by the rules and regulations, that is where the contradictions with intuition comes into picture. For example, I have a candidate, or I'm planning to interview candidates for an interview or for a specific opening in my organization. So I need to make them go through specific interview procedures, processes, tests and evaluations, and I need to document them. On what basis I have shortlisted these candidates, on what basis I have passed their interviews or I have let them pass the interviews, on what basis I have evaluated their interview or test results. I need to provide proper results, or I need to provide a proper documentation in any organization. Why is it necessary? Because tomorrow, if any candidate or an employee decide to challenge the organization, I need to submit this documentation to the legal system, to the court of law. I cannot go there and say that I decided or I shortlisted this candidate on the basis of my intuition. The law will not accept your decisions which are made on the basis of intuition. The law need to look at evidences. So that is why I said that intuition, especially in HR, in decision making, you cannot include intuition. Yes, if it is supported with evidences which are not forged, then yes, I can support that you can implement decisions on the basis of intuition as long as it is supported by proper documentation or results. I need to see the proper documentation of any organization which is working solely on the basis of intuition. It does not hold any validity under the law. For law, If anybody challenges the organization or any systems or the functions or policies or procedures of any organization, then you need to take proper evidences to the court. You cannot go to the court and say, I made this decision on the basis of my intuition. And the court will say, then the court, we cannot even challenge the court. If we say that we made decisions on the basis of our intuition, no, the court will not listen to that. The court need evidences and documents and communications with what we had with regard to why we chose this specific candidate. The court need to look at a candidate or employee or a business person or a customer or a client challenges the organization or any decision making of any of the people who are associated with the organization, then we need to provide evidences to the court of law. I would like to share an experience that my organization had. I think we were acting as business consultants for a very prominent firm, and they had shortlisted a specific candidate. They had all the rounds of interviews and they were providing an offer letter to the candidate. The candidate went to collect the offer letter. He took out the pen to sign the offer letter, and immediately when the candidate was about to sign the offer letter, the HR officer pulled the offer letter from the candidate and he said that we'll get back to you. The candidate felt so insulted. He went back, and on the way back he called us and informed that he'll be taking legal action against the organization because they insulted him. We were like, what happened? What is the problem? How do you think the organization insulted him? He said that he has some deformalities, or he had some accident or some problem with his hands. So he was a differently abled person, and probably the HR, when the candidate was about to sign the document, saw the problem with his hands and realized, I don't know what was the realization of the HR, and he or she pulled the documents from the candidate without letting him sign the offer letter. And the candidate threatened to take legal actions against the organization. And it was a very prominent organization, and he had every right to take legal actions against the organization, and he would be compensated accordingly as per the law of any country. You cannot let a candidate not sign or accept an offer letter just because he is differently abled. Right? He had some problem with his hands, but it did not impact his work environment or his work style. Nothing was impacted. And when these people interviewed, they had at least 4-5 rounds of interviews and tests and evaluation. They did not notice the hands. I do not know. So as consultants, we had to pitch in and we had to bring both the parties to a compromise and resolve the situation amicably without letting the candidate go to the court. Because if he went to the court, then it will be a problem for the client. Yes, definitely. They'll have to pay a huge sum to the candidate, not only for the insult and the embarrassment they caused to the candidate, but also, it is against the law to treat a differently abled person differently. You're not supposed to treat somebody whatever their appearances are. As per the law, you are not supposed to do that. And if somebody did that, they are punishable under the law. So we had to make the HR understand that what he or she did was not right. And we had to apologize to the candidate for the inconveniences caused to him by the client. And if the candidate went to the court, and the court will ask the HR why you refuse to let the candidate sign the offer letter, and the HR could have said, I had an intuition that he may not be able to perform the work because of his differently abled hand. If the HR said that, then immediately the court can allow a hefty fine on the organization on the basis of what the HR said. HR cannot think I had an intuition and then I made a decision. HR can never say. HR has to produce the evidence that this person is already working in an organization successfully and they were ready to give him an offer. They even asked him to resign, but he said that I'm not ready to resign unless I sign the offer letter. Okay, so at least he was saved in that arena. But if he had listened to the HR and resigned from that organization, he would be in a limbo. Imagine. he would have lost the job there, and he would have not received the offer letter from this organization, and he and his family would be suffering without a job and pay for without a salary. Who would answer these kind of situations? Nobody. Nobody's intuition is going to fill anybody's tummy. So this is one of the reasons why I say that yes, intuition is good to make your own personal decisions. But when you bring it to a professional setup, please support it with proper evidences. If an HR officer thinks that a person cannot do a job just because he or she is differently able, the HR has to provide proper evidences to the candidate, to the employee, to whoever is involved. They have to provide proper evidences. They cannot simply be dependent upon their intuition and say that, oh my God, I thought like this, it may not work. I thought that he cannot work. I thought my intuition told me that this may not be successful. Good, you have an intuition. Please, where is the evidences? Where are the supporting documents to support your intuition? Okay, so an organization or anybody associated with an organization is not an island. They're part of a properly regulated country's laws and regulations. So as per the rules and regulations of any country, you need to provide evidences. You cannot go to the court and say that I made this decision on the basis of intuition. No, that is not possible. So this is one of the reasons why I said that I do not agree with what that interviewer told me in that interview. I cannot support that kind of decisions, primarily because we have to abide by the rules and regulations, and as per rules and regulations, we have to have proper evidences and documentations for every processes, every policies, every procedures that are being implemented in any organizations or in any specific departments of any organizations. Got it? I hope I made this point very clear. If you have any further doubts, please do not hesitate to send me messages, and I will be more than happy to clarify your doubts here. So until we meet next time, thank you for being here. Bye-bye.